Is it possible that Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi and the head of the Aam Aadmi Party, might be arrested by the ED? That's the question we are asking on this primetime conversation. I'm Faye D'souza. Thank you for joining us. So here's what's happening right now. Arvind Kejriwal is going to appear before the ED or the Enforcement Directorate. This is the second time he's going to appear before the ED. And he's going to be questioned in what is being known as the Delhi Excise Policy, the Delhi Liquor Policy case. You would have heard of it. I will explain to you also what this case is, and we'll break this down a little further. The CBI has summoned Kejriwal earlier this year in April. This is the first time the ED is summoning him. Now, you'll also remember formerly Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia and Aam Aadmi Party MP, Rajya Sabha MP Sanjay Singh are both in jail on the same case. And now Arvind Kejriwal is going to be questioned. What is the case? Now, Delhi used to have a liquor policy which allowed licenses only to a few people, is largely controlled by the government. And this led to a lot of liquor moving in the city in black. There was a policy that was then mooted saying to open up that market. And so there isn't so much black sort of movement of alcohol. Delhi was divided into 32 zones. Each of them had various liquor vendors. The goal policy, like I said, was to shut down black marketing of the liquor and to increase the revenue of the government. Licensees were allowed to offer discounts and set their own prices, of what they're going to sell alcohol at. In the first initial reports, the Delhi government saw a bump up of revenue of 27% from liquor sales, which seemed good. What happened then is the Chief Secretary of Delhi sent a 5-page report to the then Lieutenant Governor, V.K. Saxena. This is July 2020, last year, saying that there were deviations in the policy, that there were some arbitrary changes made in the policy by then Excise Minister Manish Sisodia, who is now in jail. And he said the changes made in the policy were not in line and they didn't follow the legal rules or the legal route that needed to be followed. It was also alleged that the policy was designed in such a manner to give an undue advantage to some liquor barons, and there were a couple of names that popped up as well. The accusation fundamentally was that Aam Aadmi Party leaders had taken kickbacks or taken bribes and had used the money for the Punjab elections. And that was the whole thing. Then the ED came up, and the ED looks fundamentally, Enforcement Directorate looks at sort of ill-begotten wealth and where that money is going. The ED filed a case under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act and called it a scam, and basically started to look at a kickback of 6% that these liquor barons were apparently allegedly paying to Aam Aadmi Party leaders. Now, what happened after that is, Manish Sisodia was arrested. He's been in jail this entire time. Sanjay Singh was arrested as well. The Aam Aadmi Party has said that this is basically the central government and the BJP that's afraid of their popularity, and that's why they're going after them. Joining me right now to help us understand what is really going on in this case is a very senior journalist and someone I respect greatly, Ms. Neerja Chowdhury, who joins us right now. Ms. Chowdhury, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to us on this liquor policy or excise policy case. We did have the Supreme Court during the Manish Sisodia bail hearing make a note saying a lot of the evidence being presented here is, are making jumps that they perhaps shouldn't be making. Could you first let me know where you see the arguments in this case? Because we've seen some of the arguments now put forward by these agencies before courts. How tight do you think this case is?
The Supreme Court's verdict denying bail to Manish Sisodia has come as a real setback for the Aam Aadmi Party. They were hoping that he would walk out free manner out of the Tihar jail and get bail. And that was, they based their hopes on the observations made by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court during the hearing talked about you cannot rely. There's no evidence against Mr. Sisodia. Number one, you cannot rely on the words by the approver person who turned approver on the face of it. So, and keep Mr. Sisodia in jail indefinitely. So those kinds of words made people feel that possibly Mr. Sisodia would get bail. But that did not happen. And as you're saying, the Supreme Court has has relied on a couple of things in the ED case. One, that there is a money trail there seems to be a money trail. And number two, that the commissions given to distributors went up from 5% to 12%, and this benefited some distributors by as much as 338 crores. And they questioned this, and they saw that possibly this was done deliberately to help those distributors financially. So this means, though they say that Sisodia cannot be kept in jail indefinitely, many people feel that this may mean another 6, 7, 8 months for Mr. Sisodia further in jail before they work out things in the case. Now, what I find very curious, peculiar, is that somebody should be kept in jail for so long without conviction. In our country, bail has been the norm in cases like that, not jail. And here, many people, it's not only the Aam Aadmi Party, others have also been kept in jail without being given bail. It's almost like preemptive punishment.
Yes.
And, you wonder that the Supreme Court is allowing this to happen. It's disappointing that the Supreme Court should allow this to happen. Whatever be the facts of the case, you can try the person, you can convict the person, and the person can, be penalized for that. But at this stage of the game, do you keep a person in jail for month after month? So that is my view, as you asked for it. But politically, it'll be very interesting to see what the fallout of this case is going to be.
Do you believe there's a possibility that Arvind Kejriwal may be arrested by the ED?
Well, that is the buzz in the capital today. Is Mr. Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, going to be arrested in this case? In the last many weeks, we were hearing again a buzz. And Delhi is full of these rumors all the time that he would be arrested in January. That was the sort of informed opinion in the corridors of power, quote unquote. But after the Supreme Court judgment, the ED seems to have moved very quickly. And this notice is gone. And therefore, this question mark, will he be arrested in this case? And if he is arrested, it means that a larger culpability. Also, people are talking whether they'll, not only the individual chief minister, but the Aam Aadmi Party as a party, will there be action against that? Will there be case against that? Now, that's not happened before. But again, this is the Delhi grapevine, political grapevine that's talking about
Because,
it.
Ms. Chaudhary, it's very interesting. The Supreme Court had, in fact, asked the ED that question during Manish Sisodia's bail hearing. They said, why haven't you made the Aam Aadmi Party an accused or a party to this hearing, since most of your accusations are towards the party and not towards the individual? This was an observation, a verbal observation made by the Supreme Court during that hearing.
No, that was very interesting. So I don't know where the whole thing is headed, really. For a party, I can't remember instances where a party has been charged like that, political party. So as I say, the political fallout of this case and where it's headed remains to be seen. And
Well,
I suppose
let's
from
just
tomorrow
examine. Yeah, let's just examine what that political fallout may be for a party like the Aam Aadmi Party that was based on this entire idea that it's anti-corruption in its fundamental ideology, that it's a non-corrupt, that it's a party that represents the average individual. For its leader and its chief minister to be arrested on what is effectively a corruption charge, do you think that will, however the facts of the case turn out, do you think that will hurt the Aam Aadmi Party's chances? Because they're looking quite ambitiously at the elections that are coming up.
Yes, that's a central question. Will Arvind Kejriwal's arrest create sympathy for the Aam Aadmi Party in the ordinary people of Delhi? Or will it be a charge, a dirt that sticks? And people say they are all the same. Now, it is true the Aam Aadmi Party came out of the womb of a movement against corruption. And Kejriwal was part of that movement. He was an icon. And then was born, the Anna Hazare movement that we all know about in 2011. And then, of course, it gave birth to a new party. And that party very quickly got power in the capital city and has gone on to become a national party.
Mm.
Now, that is, I can't remember any instance. There was an instance of the Assam movement, ASU and Assam Gana Parishad. But that was limited to, it was based on subnationalism, limited to Assam, and not at the larger level. And here to get 67 seats out of 70 and yet again win handsomely next time round showed
Yes.
that, somewhere it had caught the imagination of the people. Now, most people would not believe that the Aam Aadmi Party, it's completely clean now, or it's not what it was earlier, its
Mm-hmm.
image. Is it like any other party? Yes, people believe it's probably like any other party, maybe a shade better. And the reason, yesterday I was in the market and I bumped into, I got talking to a young woman who was a doctor. And I said to her, how is Delhi going to vote this time? And she said, we are going to vote up. I'm not going to vote for the BJP. I'm going to vote for up. I
Mm-hmm.
said, why? She said, if you go to, you look at their, what they've done in the health system, what they've done in the government school, it's there for you to
Yeah.
see. Bijli Pani, of course, for the poor, free Bijli Pani is one thing. So I said, would you vote? What would you do in the national election? Because everywhere else I've gone, I've asked people that question, and they say we will vote for Bhupesh Baghel in Chhattisgarh now, or Ashok Gehlot now in this election. But in Badi election, we will vote for Narendra Modi. But this woman said to me, in the Badi election, I'm going to vote for Aam Aadmi Party. Now, this is a chance kind of,
Mm-hmm.
conversation. But a lot of people in Delhi still feel if Aam Aadmi Party they don't vote for, then what they have been given by the Aam Aadmi Party, which is delivery, certainly Bijli Pani for the poorer folk, this is going to be snatched away from them
Yeah.
by the BJP. That's the kind of perception. So I don't know, and yet Arvind Kejriwal lost ground when he built that very alishan house for himself,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
renovation, which didn't go down well with many people coming, particularly coming from somebody like Kejriwal. So they've lost ground,
Yeah.
and yet I think there are people who have confidence, that
And
they have
there's a dissonance, obviously, because Kejriwal has always worn the bush shirt and the chappals and the muffler, and he's driven in that same car. So his messaging has been a certain way, and that bungalow did not fit into that messaging. It was completely contrary to what he wanted people to believe he was, and that maybe also felt like some sort of a betrayal for most people. But I do want to ask you this, Ms. Chaudhary. We've had members of the opposition, in fact, submit to the Supreme Court that 95% of the political leaders investigated by the CBI and ED are in opposition. And there's a lot of this sort of raiding and arresting that's happening. Recently in Bihar, Tejasvi Yadav's home in Delhi was raided by the ED as well. Do you expect a lot of agency action to hot up before the next election? Is this part of the arsenal that government is using to show maybe the citizens what they might be voting for?
Look, I think this is my feeling, if they put Kejriwal, arrest him and put him in jail, then I think there could be a counter reaction. So far, people have been quiet. Of course, I'm not talking of how the cadre of the Aam Aadmi Party is going to react. it is very based on a cadre-based party. That is one part of the story. So far, they've been pretty quiet. Uh, but leader after leader after leader of Aam Aadmi Party going to jail in this scam. And there are, I'm not talking whether or not there are scams, but are you gunning for that party? Are you wanting to finish that party politically? I think, I suspect there will be a reaction. And if the strategy of the government and the ruling BJP is to use the agencies and ED even more as we near general elections, I don't know whether they will yield dividends, because after all, if you're wanting to send a message to people that this can happen to you, that message is already gone many times over. So whether more dividends come to you as a result, or you begin to create a sympathy for the opposition where the sympathy is not there otherwise, I don't know. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the ruling party's strategy will be on this score.
May I ask you something as somebody trying to understand Indian politics with the historical point of view? Whether or not scams exist or actually happened is actually besides the point to how political vendetta plays out when someone is in power and someone is in opposition. Now, uh, while the ED has raided a lot of places, the Aam Aadmi Party being, the leaders being made to cool their heels in jail in this manner is unusual from what I have seen, because normally, say, for example, between the BJP and the Congress, there's never been that sort of action taken. What makes the Aam Aadmi Party different? Why is the treatment of the Aam Aadmi Party different? And does this then demolish the idea that the Aam Aadmi Party is actually the BJP's B team, which the Congress has brought that sort of accusation a couple of times in the past?
I don't know whether the Aam Aadmi Party is the BJP's B team, but Aam Aadmi Party has certainly taken a pro-Hindu stance. You remember Hanuman was an icon, and Kejriwal talked a lot about it, going to the Hanuman Mandir and so on. More than possibly other. Of course, every party is now playing the soft Hindu game. Bhupesh Baghel is playing it in Chhattisgarh. Many others. Kamal Nath is playing that game in Madhya Pradesh, because that is the ground sentiment that they have to placate. So Aam Aadmi Party also has played that. But what they may fear is, apart from the strident attacks that Kejriwal and his colleagues have been making against Prime Minister Modi personally also, but they have delivered on the ground. Bijli, Pani, schools, mobile clinics are there for people to see. Therefore, you remember earlier on when the Aam Aadmi Party in the first election was fighting all over the country, which was a mistake. It was said that it could go on in time to replace the Congress Party and take that space with the Congress's strength and appeal dwindling. I think things are changing at the moment. Congress is also on the upswing and will do far better than it did in 2019 in the coming election, and probably will get states in these 5 elections, also some of the states. But maybe it's seen as a threat in the future. And this is not limited only to Delhi. Haryana, Punjab, they've already got. Smaller states, they've eyed. So I would think they would want them to, every party would like those who may be potential challengers not to raise their heads and clip their wings when they can.
All right, so this is what we know. Arvind Kejriwal will appear before the Enforcement Directorate on the Delhi liquor scam case, and we'll find out what happens as and when that happens, and we'll bring you those updates as well. But this is a breakdown of that entire case for you. Neerja Chowdhury, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. Neerja Chowdhury, very respected, very senior journalist, joining us there with that update. For our viewers on YouTube, do remember to like, share, subscribe to our videos, and leave us a comment on what you think about the action of the CBI and the ED, especially when it comes to opposition leaders. Do you think that they are being used by the government to send a message? That brings us to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Good night. For more news and updates, download the Beetroot News app from the App Store and the Play Store.